you're well. Today we're doing sort of the tag video, but it's not an official tag. This video has started by Cassie, and I feel like a lot of the other YouTubers have done them as well, and I also would like to share with you my thought on this. And this is the 5 luxury bag that I would buy if I could start over. So if I could, start from scratch with zero luxury bag in my collection, which are the 5 bags I would purchase. And it's pretty tricky, and it's kind of a very exciting one to do. It's kind of, imagine you have all the money in the world and then you are ready to get into this luxury handbag collection world, and what would you buy and what I would recommend. So basically I would say, like, when Cassie did her video, she kind of divided into different categories. So the work bag, everyday bag, travel bag, etc. But I wouldn't do that just because, now we're in a very different world and everyone's situation is a bit different. You might not even need a work bag because if you're not going to work, or you may not need a travel bag, Anyways, all to say is I didn't really take those categories in considerations. I'm simply, talking from the perspective of, if I don't have any bag in my collection and I were to start this luxury bag collection, thing, where would I start, which ones would I buy, and all that. One other caveat is these are the item that's more attainable, that you can actually buy with a somewhat of healthy budget. Not if you're uber rich, then you'd probably be starting with Hermes. But like if you're just like making an average salary like me and considering keeping your collection small, and thinking about adding new, just different so like it's kind of speaking from my own perspective, as in, like, if I have nothing to start with, nothing right now, and can restart everything again, what bags I would buy. So I think, I don't know if you might be new to the channel or you've been following me, but I've really only started luxury buying in 2018. And before that, I only really had this one bag, which is my Louis Vuitton Speedy bag. I had a few other like Prada bags here or there, but nothing from Chanel, nothing else. Well, I had a Bria bag that was also pretty old from Louis Vuitton, but other than those, I don't really have any luxury bags. And I wasn't ever consider myself a collector. I was just, it's just handbags. I use this one every day. I didn't baby it. I didn't realize, I just didn't do a lot of research. I didn't realize the value has gone up so much since I purchased it, since I had this bag. Anyways, so it's a bit different. So now it's saying if I could start in 2018, restarting what I've purchased, like what would I buy? And like I said, I mentioned this in all my videos. Unfortunately, I do consider the resale value quite as a big factor when I make my purchases. That should definitely not be your main motivation or your main motive when you're buying a bag. The best bag are the ones that you enjoy and you love and you make use of. So those are the best bags. So never buy a bag just because you think they will retain their value and you could resell later, because then I find it's not really a great investment. It's never, unless you're a professional reseller or a professional kind of vintage seller, you don't really expect to make a lot of money out of these resales, because it's not something that, it won't keep you fed from reselling bags unless you're doing it in mass quantity and then you have specific channel, you have a clientele. Otherwise, it's not easy to make this, to make a living out of all this. So it is still luxury. So it's like non-essential. It's like you do this when you have the extra money to do it. You don't do this if you're still worrying about your rent and your basic essential items. So anyways, all that to say is, if you're at a point where you're financially pretty stable and comfortable and you're into this and you want to set aside some money to be collecting luxury handbags, but at the same time you have fairly limited budget like me, then here will be my recommendations. So a lot of them I do have in my collection, which I am very grateful for, because even though I didn't know too much about this whole luxury handbag world, I still made mostly the correct decisions. I do feel like there are some regrets and mistakes over time. I can do another video to talk about that as well. But I think overall, in general, my choices are fairly good, and I don't have any regrets in general speaking. But first bag that I would recommend is go for Chanel Classic Flap. So you don't have to go with the medium large size. You could go with a small, you can go with a jumbo. I would say the small Classic Flap is probably the one that's most popular right at this moment, but the medium large size is definitely the one that's been around the longest, and it's the classic size. So this one has been around for forever, and the design of it pretty much stayed the same for the past, like, what, 50 years. And you know, it's still trendy, it's always relevant. The fashion evolves so much. It changed from season to season, it changed from month to month, right? The fabric, the color, there's always new trend. But this bag has stand, you know, the test of time, and it's one of the most timeless piece. And you can I feel like in another 50 years or 100 years, this bag will still be around and still look like this, because it's just a very easy classic silhouette, classic design. It's beautiful. It's just the way it's made, the turn locks, everything in combination together. It's timeless piece. For that reason, it always retains its value fairly well. Mostly because, as you know, the retail price keep going up. So if you buy it like 5 years ago, it's already like a few hundred or few thousand dollar more than what you paid previously. So for that reason, they do retain their kind of current retail value fairly well. My only caveat would be, like, you are able to find these in fairly decent conditions on the pre-market, on the pre-love market as well. So it's something you could also consider, but those obviously takes a bit of luck, and there's a little bit of risk when you're buying them from a reseller. You also will missing out on that whole boutique buying experience, so forth, you know. So there are a few things that you want to consider before you decide to go pre-loved, but definitely a great avenue as well. Personally, if I could choose again, I may even consider that route myself. I'm happy I was able to get this in the boutique, but you know, like I said, it's if I have the knowledge that I have today and have the experience that I have today, I may even source out to have a pre-loved one in a brand new condition with full set. I think that's what I would go for. With all luxury handbags, I think if you can, when you can, should always aim for a full set purchase, because that will be the closest that you can get to a boutique purchase. At the same time, it will help you when you do decide to resell these items. Again, none of these bags I purchase for the purpose of resale, but it's always something I consider, because, you know, there's only so many bags I can buy, and I do wish to add in new bags as time moves forward. So then naturally you will have to get rid of some of the bags that you purchased in the past, which means then, you know, to make it easier for you to kind of refresh your collection, you do have to consider resale values as a consideration. But anyways, first one on my list is the Chanel 19 Classic Flap. Like I said, you can get in any size that you wish. The second one on my list is actually a bag that I don't actually have in my collection, but it would be the Chanel Mini Flap. So I have the Chanel reissue in the mini size, but I am specifically referring to either the Chanel Classic Square, Chanel Classic Flap, Mini Flap in the square size, or the regular flap in the mini size. So it's similar to the size of this reissue, but a little bit like lower, I think a little bit shorter. The reason I'm not recommending this one, again, it comes down to just the resale value itself. The mini square and the mini themselves, if you can get your hands on them, you're pretty much guaranteed to not lose your money of what you pay for if you're getting them in boutique. Oftentimes people can even resell them for higher amount if it's a very popular color or, you know, a nice condition and things like that. So it's one bag that you can guarantee pretty much, at least for the next little while, I think, guarantee its retail value that you've paid for. They're harder to come by, but if you have a sales associate that you work with, if you're patient, I do feel like you can still get your hands on one. If you're getting one that's not in a black or more neutral color, it might be a little bit trickier to resell, but I think they basically resell pretty easily regardless of the color and hardware that you have. And the reason I'm saying classic flap, not again, going back to the resell, I think it's also one that it's so easy to transfer from day to night. You can wear it casually, but you can also easily wear it as for a formal event. So definitely a great piece to have. It does hold quite a bit. It's one piece that I'm still potentially looking to add in my collection. The reason I hesitated it is because right now they only come in lambskin, but I think I've said in my other videos, I think I've now come to a realization that lambskin can be as durable as caviar as well, as long as you're careful with them. And I think, you know, I'm open to that option now. So definitely one, I think if you're able to get your hands on one, there's no risk to it. If at some point you no longer love it, you can probably still resell it for very easily and for a very good amount. So that's the two bags that I would recommend you start with from Chanel. Now, among all the major fashion houses, Chanel and Louis Vuitton and Hermes obviously, but I think, you know, the more attainable brand would be Chanel and Louis Vuitton. And I think in comparison, the two, Louis Vuitton is even easier to resell and sometimes retains their value even better in some cases. So definitely if you're new to luxury collection, I think Louis Vuitton is a fantastic brand to start with. I know some people, they like to just focus on one fashion house, or I know a lot of people, they start with Louis Vuitton, then slowly migrate to Chanel, and then slowly migrate to Hermes, and then along the way they will get rid of their Chanels and Louis Vuitton, which is also very natural to do. But I think as a new collector, it's nice to have a little bit of everything, and then it gives you a different a different option when you're pairing with your outfit. It does expose you to other kind of communities and different fashion houses. They all have different history. They all have their different flaws and different pros and cons anyways to each fashion house. Louis Vuitton, I love their canvas material. They're so durable. It's kind of gonna last forever, really. It's not leather. It is a PVC kind of composition material. And but they have a lot of classic pieces. So if you don't have anything from Louis Vuitton, the four bags that I would recommend that you start with would be Louis Vuitton Speedy, Louis Vuitton Alma, which I don't have one right here, but I do have one in the Venice leather. And then there is the Neverfull, and then the Noe. So Louis Vuitton Noe, which I have one right here as well. And this could apply to even Nano Speedy and Nano Noe as well, if you like, because again, when it comes to these four bags, they will likely never get discontinued. They do reoccur like in their chain. I mean, maybe at some point they're gonna discontinue one of these four, but it's not really likely. I feel like they've all become classic pieces. I don't see them going anywhere for the next 10 years, for example. So because they are not discontinued and continue to be retailed and sold, and their price keep going up, they retain their kind of value fairly well. Now with Louis Vuitton, the only caveat I would say is that they have been around forever, so there are tons of secondhand items out there. So you can easily get a Speedy, for example, that's from the 80s or early 90s for like $200, $300. That's in fair condition still. So I feel like, if you're new to this, depending on how you feel about buying vintage and buying pre-loved, there are lots of really, really great options as a vintage pieces. I've said this several times too. I find vintage Louis Vuitton pieces to be a lot better made than the current pieces. So personally, I have no issue going pre-love, provided that the condition of the item is good, and you obviously want newer items where the condition of it is really new. I purchased the Speedy 40 with this beautiful patina, even though it's from, I think it was early 90s, but the condition of the bag is just perfect. So, and I had to only pay like less than half of the retail price for it. So I think those are some of the things you can consider when buying these things. And then if you do end up purchasing a really good vintage or pre-loved pieces, then when you resell them, you could even make a profit or, you know, lose very little money on the bag when it comes to it. Again, I will say this again, you shouldn't buy a bag just considering the resale value. You buy something you love, but it's something, like I said, because you want to refresh your collection, it's something you should think about when you're making these large purchases. But to me, I find a lot of, depending, so they come in a variety of different sizes. So like Nano Noe or Nano Speedy, they're tiny, so they're obviously not your work bags, but they're, again, super sought after. You can probably make a profit on them if you resell them, if you're able to get your hands on them and resell them. But if you go with a larger size, larger Alma, larger Speedy, then these are great everyday bags or even travel bags. So that's the cool thing about Louis Vuitton is they have this one design that can work with so many variety of different sizes. And they still have their own uniqueness and they look good with different outfits. So definitely these 4 bags, whichever one of these 4 would be my recommendation as a number 3 bag on the list. I know I'm cheating a little bit because I'm going beyond the 5 bags, but I feel like any of the 4 classic pieces from Louis Vuitton would just be as good, in my opinion. Okay, so the next one on the list is from Dior. And I've talked about Dior more frequently recently because I have purchased this beautiful saddlebag. And I've said this many times, Dior do not have great resale values. So as soon as you buy them, you're basically losing $1,000 out of them if you're buying them from the boutique. So, you know, for this bag here, I think it was around 5, close to 5. But if I were to resell right now, I'd be lucky to get like 4 back, I think. But anyways, with that said though, again, there is something to, you know, if you're buying from a boutique, it's guaranteed authenticity, you have warranty, you have that whole purchase experience, you have more options to choose from, etc. You can guarantee that it's fresh, it's brand new, nobody else has used it, and all that perks, I guess. But at the same time, you know, some of these bags, you definitely lose value on them the moment that you purchase them, like Dior bags. So if you look at the pre-loved market, Dior Lady Dior bag, which been around forever, you can find them for like $2,000 when they're reselling, when they're retail for like 5, 6, 7K. But you can buy them like in a fairly decent condition still for 2 to 3K. So it's like half of the money. So definitely, if you do want to add, it is still on my list as a number 4 bags to be added to your collection. The reason is because they are classic and they have longevity, you know, and then they could like, you could still resell them for a decent amount. And again, I don't see the saddlebag or the Lady Dior going anywhere anytime soon. So, and the Lady Dior is just so beautiful. It's, you can, if you go for the larger size, similar to like these Louis Vuitton bags, if you go for larger sizes, you can use them as work bags, as everyday bags, but their mini sizes are really cute too. I have the mini Dior, which I'm just too lazy to bring it out. But really, like, there are so many different sizes and colors to choose from. And because they've been around forever, I do believe they will still be around in another 10, 20 years. And for that reason, they will retain their value a lot better compared to like a seasonal bag, for example. So that's definitely something I would recommend, whether you're getting from boutique or not. That's kind of your own preference. But if I could pick again, I may consider pre-love. I don't regret buying both my bags from the boutique because they're just beautiful and new. And I still think in comparison, another factor you can consider is their price point is actually still a lot more reasonable compared to like Chanel and Hermes maybe. The price increase has speed up over the last few years, but generally speaking, I think they are still a bit lower compared to your Chanel bags. And then last but not least, it's another Louis Vuitton piece, and I was debated, honestly, I have a pretty long list I was debating from. And the last one that I recommend, and I really do think it's a great starter piece, is your Louis Vuitton Pochette accessoire. So I recently talked about the Pochette in my like, what's the tag video? I can't remember now, but like I personally prefer the mini Pochette over the regular size Pochette, but I think if you consider all factors, the Pochette accessoire in the regular size is a better purchase. It resells really well. Maybe the mini resells a little bit better, to be honest, but they still resell really well. And then it's just a simple silhouette. Again, it's a very timeless design that can probably be used for the next 20, 30, 50 years, because it is a simple pochette look, and then you can convert it to a crossbody bag or just over the shoulder bag. There are variety different ways to wear it. It's quite versatile. It's very functional, very usable. It has a beautiful zipper closure, which makes things are super easy to access. Perfect for travel, for everyday quick errands, whatever you want, and it holds a very good healthy amount, in my opinion. And that bag, I think, if I don't have the mini, I would definitely go for the regular Pochette, because I do see myself able to incorporate that piece into a lot of my different outfits. So yeah, definitely a great starter piece. Again, there are options on the pre-love market, but because that piece is such an everyday frequent use item, often the condition that you find those bags in are not great in the vintage. If they are in a very excellent condition, they will not go for cheap. So they were pretty much the same price, if not a bit more than the retail price, just because they are still somewhat hard to get. For stocking tips and tricks, do check out my other videos. I will link it here as well for getting these harder to get Louis Vuitton items. But I always say don't get them from resellers. Just be persistent and do research and find essays. Eventually you're gonna get your hands on one. It's tricky, but it's doable. If I can do it from a very small city in Canada, I think anyone can do it. It just takes a little bit of patience and some work to get those items, but it's definitely doable. Okay, so just to recap, number 1 would be Chanel Classic Flap. Number 2 would be the Chanel Mini. Number 3 would be one of the classic Louis Vuitton bags, whether it's Speedy, No Way, Alma, or your Neverfull. Number 4 would be whether it's the Dior saddlebag or the mini Lady Dior. I'm leaning towards the Lady Dior bag. I don't feel like the saddlebag is for everybody. It might still be a trendy bag. So I would say I'll change my answer. I think it will be the mini, it will be the Lady Dior bag from Dior. And then the last but not least would be the Pochette accessoire from Louis Vuitton. So those are my top 5 choices if you are new to luxury handbag collection. And definitely I think you can't go wrong with any of these bags. I have a kind of runner-up list as well, so I'll share with you guys as well. My first one is actually either Gucci Marmont or Gucci Dionysus. So I feel like both bags, they've become like the classic line for a Gucci bag. However, their Gucci bag trend in general, I feel like is fading a little bit. But those bags are still very beautiful and very easy to go with any outfit, and they are still on the market, and I do see them to stay on the market for the next little while. So if you're able to get them at a discounted price, whether through like websites or through a reseller or pre-love market, I think those are great options as well if Gucci is a brand that you're looking to add into your collection. And then otherwise, my other list includes classic lines from Chanel. So your Chanel boy bag, your Chanel reissue bag, your Chanel Gabrielle bags. Those bags, in general speaking, do retain their value better than the seasonal bags. In general speaking, because if you look at Chanel's Trendy CC, which is not technically as part of the classic line, they probably have better resale value now compared to the Gabrielle bag, I would say. They're a lot more sought after right now. It's hard to know whether they will make that into a classic line. I'm not sure, but the classic line the reoccurring line is always a safer bet. but at the same time the trend will change and things will change, so it's hard to predict from that perspective. But overall, and not forget the Chanel 19 bag, of course. Again, these are, other than the classic flap, I see all the other bags as trending bags. So, you know, these might not always be the best investments or the best ones to start your collection with. But like I said, the best purchase is the one that you love and the one that you use. So if Chanel 19 is the one you love and the one that you see yourself using the most, go for it. Like, don't get influenced by all the other information. I am simply telling you all the classic lines that I feel are super beautiful, still super functional, and are a safer investment if you ever need to letting go some of the pieces in your collections. And then I think the other one from Louis Vuitton that I would add it to my runner-up list is the Pochette Metis. That one I do think is somewhat of a classic bag just because of silhouette. It has a lot of classic element. It could be handheld, it's a crossbody. I think that bag is also quite classic and has a long longevity to the bag, so it's another bag that I could consider, but it didn't make it to my list. So there you go. These are the Fed bags I would recommend if you're new to luxury collection. Let me know what you think, and let me know if you think I'm wrong or if you think I should add other bags to my list. But thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!